Yeah, everybody, Norb, my producer, Tabitha. Uh, Pluribus, awesome. Everybody sucked in. Apple's doing great with this. Vince Gilligan, you got it sucked in. But there's so many things you've hidden in plain freaking sight in front of us. Damn, Vince. Easter eggs. And the Easter eggs we're going to talk about today, I'll call this chapter 1, we're going to do a whole series of Easter eggs, are names. The names of characters are very important, more than you think. I'll explain in a moment. Norb with Silver Age. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Tabitha's going, yeah, please, 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 please. So we're going to talk about the names. We're going to talk about Carol, Manusis, Zosha, Helen, St. Joan. What? Whoa. We'll explain that. Kumba Diapati. I'm mispronouncing, I apologize. And Sturka, Carol's last name. There's a lot of interesting things behind these. First, Carol. Her name is a derivative of Carl, and it really references full-grown, free man, and she is definitely free from this hive. And I think this is us hope that she is the free person to free the human race, mankind. That's what I think is very important about Carol's name, why she was given this name. Manusa, we've seen a little bit of in Paraguay. Interestingly, in Manos is a Spanish derivative, and it indicates somebody that's good with their hands. We see him playing a little bit with hands with the radio and stuff like that. And ingenious. And I think we can see by the fact he's playing with the shortwave-ish radio, high frequencies, taking copious notes, he's very ingenious. Additionally, in Latin America, Manus is a name that refers to a very picky eater and a very stubborn person. And my God, we can see this guy is stubborn, and this is why the character's name has this name, I believe, from Vince Gilligan. Stubborn, and his stubbornness is keeping him out of the hive, and his ingenuity has got him figuring out a way to free people from it and a way to hide himself from the hive. Zosha, interestingly, she's got two sides of her name that I was able to find. A good side and a bad side. The good side, from Greek, it's a derivative, it's a Polish name, a derivative from a Greek name, Sophia, and it means wisdom. So she has wisdom. We can see that she's been granted all this knowledge and wisdom, but I think we're seeing that she's cracking away, and maybe she might become another person that is actually free of the hive. I think this is the good thing with the wisdom. The bad, though, the bad. Once again, Poland. Back in 2022, archaeologists discovered a grave containing remains of a young woman from the 17th century. And she had garlic and chains on her and stuff that you would use in a steak, things you would use to subdue her. So a vampire. And Zosha's kind of a vampire for her hive. She's trying to suck knowledge from our friend Carol and from the human race. She's a vampire, sucking away our freedom and humanity. Interesting character analysis. Now, Helen, Carol's significant other, maybe they were married, I'm not sure. Obviously from Greek mythology. She was Helen of Troy, one of the most beautiful women in the world at that point in time. And she was abducted during the Trojan Wars, and that was considered to be the major cause of the Trojan Wars. Abduction is what the hive is doing to everybody, abducting them. And every time they bring up Helen's name, it causes issues and makes Carol think about everything's been abducted from her. Once again, I think a very clever ploy that Vince Gilligan has used. Now, here's one you probably not seen. John St. John. This is the hospital. St. John Medical Center. Now, St. John is actually Joan of the Arc, I believe. It's a reference to Joan of Arc. She was very heavily involved in one of the French revolutions against the English. She convinced Charles VII to let her lead an army that beat the English in the Battle of Orleans in 1429. Then subsequently, the English put her on trial. Gee, I think that's what's happening here. Carol's being placed on trial for heresy and witchcraft, and this is for Carol's being pushed for the freedom stuff. She needs to be consumed instead of being burnt at the stake, like Joan of Arc. Give me your thoughts. Kumba Diapte. African, obviously. In African, what I can tell, he's ingenious and ingenious and resourceful. And you can see he is definitely resourceful. More importantly, his last name, Diabate, in African, basically means and interpreted as irresistible. And you can see he's kind of irresistible in the way he schmoozes things. And I think that's where they came up with his name to be this kind of thing. And I think we're going to see a lot bit more from him in the next episode when they go to Vegas. Sturka. Carol Sturka's last name. I know you guys have seen the whole thing about the Twilight Zone connection to Third from the Sun back in January 1960 about nuclear by employees, engineers working at some plant, and they were facing nuclear Armageddon on that planet, and he and his friend and family stole an experimental spaceship, and went 11 million miles. Well, 11 million miles obviously doesn't work here, but 11 million works for how many dead we lost, suppose, when Carol had her outburst. But I also think a lot of connections are out there that planet being 600 light years away, we've detected that to be Kepler 22b, we're calling it. So I think everything here is a full circle, and that's why I think Sturka is a combination, throw out to Twilight Zone, hey, this is kind of a cool thing, and also maybe specifically saying, hey, everything did come from Kepler. So, hey, Norma Silver Age, want to hear your thoughts, comments. I know this is kind of deep, and maybe I'm creating things that aren't there, but I really believe Vince Gilligan puts stuff in here, hides it plain sight for us to find and discuss. I haven't seen this. I know that all this fully been discussed. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Please tell your friends about this. We're going to be having more chapters, talking about more stuff. This is for the first few episodes, 1 through 5. But there's other Easter eggs that were in episodes 1 through 5 that we will be sending out there too. And we'll be putting more series out here. Everyone have a great day.